welcome back to my channel. It's Kaylin with Full Purpose and Heart, and we're going to chat today a little bit about assignment number 2 for the Virtual Homeschool Co-op. And if you haven't, head over there and listened to some of the other women talk about their experiences with these topics. I would highly encourage you to do that. It's a great resource just for encouragement, and if you've got some spare time after you put the kids to bed, hop over there and you can see some of their videos as well. So today's topic is the naysayers, and how are we responding to those who question our decision to homeschool our family? So if you're interested in hearing my answers to these questions, go ahead and stay tuned and we'll have a little chat about the naysayers. Okay, so we are talking about naysayers today, and I'm going to preface this conversation with I have not had a lot of naysayers, mostly because my child is only 4, and I feel like a lot of people, my family included, just assume that we're going to be putting my child into public education when he begins kindergarten. And I have to say I haven't totally decided. I've talked about this in some of my other videos, so if you're new to my channel, then let me just tell you, my boy is 4, and we haven't totally decided one way or another. I'm kind of the philosophy that you decide every child every year. And so this year, we are homeschooling him a lot of preschool material and some kindergarten material, and it's been really successful. I have a lot of people who are really positive about it. Most people are saying that I'm really good at it and they enjoy sending their children my way when I have kind of like co-ops in my home for other neighborhood kids. So for the most part, I've had a really positive reaction to it. I feel like a little hesitation about starting a full-time homeschool plan because of the naysayers. And although I haven't had any direct questions, I've kind of questioned a couple of topics myself, and so those are the few things that I want to talk about, and some of the answers that I've been giving myself on these topics that I have. So there's only 2 topics. The first of the 2 is really popular, and that is the topic of socialization. And how am I going to keep my kid from getting weird? When I was in public school, and as a kid, we would, sit around the schoolyard and talk about how some of the friends that we had who were homeschooled just were a little bit weird. And we kind of had this mentality, ignorant as it may have been, that homeschooled kids were just weird. They were the ones who couldn't socialize in groups. They kind of sat in the corner when it was a large social function, or they, played cards in their parents' basements, that sort of thing. It's just the mentality that we had as kids. So I grew up and I went on to teach public school and loved every minute of it. And then I have my own, and I just loved teaching so much that I naturally started teaching him here at home. Having that said, I feel like now that I'm a little bit more educated on the resources available to homeschoolers today, that the idea that socialization in public school is a little bit inflated. Having taught public school and been in the public school all my life, I feel like this idea that you learn how to be social in public school is just something that we tag, because although there is some truth to it, we do have to work in groups all the time, and you're in a large classroom, you need to know when it's appropriate to speak and get up and use the restroom and work in groups and that sort of thing. I feel like the idea of socializing isn't really taught in school, because you only have, especially in secondary education, you only have 30 to 45 minutes of a lunch, and depending on your schedule, you'll have 5 to 10 minute passing periods, and then of course before and after. I think that this can be solved with 1 phone call a week on a parent level if you're choosing to socialize your child, or you're choosing to homeschool. And I've really found that there's a ton of resources. As for my child, I feel like I can appropriately socialize him as his age requires. So he has a weekly co-op that he goes to, and we have church every week where he has a 2-hour classroom environment that he works with. He has a 1 hour of church where we're with the family and there's a large congregation, so he needs to learn how to be still and be quiet and to busy himself with things. We have weekly like scouting camps and groups, youth groups that meet every week for that little moment of socialization, and it's usually like an hour to an hour and a half. So there's lots of opportunities for socializing outside of his academic school year. And I think that the opportunity and the freedom that comes from doing academics at home allows us to go out and see the world more and do fun things and all of those benefits that come from having the academics here at home. Socialization outside of the home is pretty easy to solve. There's lots of community sports and groups and things that we can get involved in. So I'm not too concerned about the socialization, although I'm sure that there will be a lot of kind of kickback about that depending on kind of how we approach it. So the first one is socialization, and I feel like it can be pretty easily solved. So topic number 2 that I want to discuss is the conversation about whether or not you are qualified to teach your child at home. Can you create an environment that is conducive to education? Do you have the skill set necessary to give your child a good education? Those types of questions are often a popular kind of attack that homeschoolers get. So although personally I don't get those attacks, I feel like it's a topic that I wanted to talk a little bit about because I do have an opinion on it. Having taught in the public school sector, let's start there. I was a teacher for 7 years. If you've seen my introductory video, then you know that I taught high school for 7 years and loved every minute of it. But I feel like there's a little secret about public education that isn't ever talked about except maybe among the teachers. And that is that you don't learn how to be a teacher by your certification. Having a diploma and a piece of paper saying that you are a teacher doesn't mean that you can teach or that you can't teach. I think that you become better in your craft and you really learn how to perfect your craft when you are given the opportunity to practice it. And for those of you out there who have a desire to teach your child at home but feel a little intimidated because you're, quote, not a teacher, please put that aside because you will learn how to become a teacher through practice. I learned how to be a teacher when I was actually in the classroom, and I was responsible for 40 plus students every hour to keep them educated, to keep them entertained, to keep them busy, to keep them safe. I didn't learn those skills in a college setting. Having a college diploma and a certificate saying I was a certified teacher did not teach me those skills. And I don't think that any teacher learns those skills from their college environment. You can learn to perfect those skills from a professional classroom setting, I do believe. But the practice and the implementation of those skills is really where you learn how to be a better teacher. So please, those who are intimidated by comments saying, I'm not a teacher, you don't know how to teach, you've never taught before, you cannot be intimidated by those because this craft of education comes from practice. And I would really love to encourage people to just give it a try. You know your alphabet, you know your math, and as the kids get older, you learn with them. I'm telling you, I taught world history when I was a public educator. World history was not my forte. When I took my world history classes in college, I had to take them twice because I failed them the first time. I learned to love world history and to be better at world history, and I learned those stories because I had to teach them. So when your child gets old enough that they're covering subjects that you're not familiar with or you're not very good at, you will learn alongside them, and you will learn how to teach them those topics. It's not a craft of having to go to a public institution and learn those skills. So the idea of not being a good teacher because you have not been taught is really not a topic that merits any value, in my opinion. The second bit is, can you create an environment of learning in your home? Absolutely, yes, you can. If your dishes are dirty and your floor hasn't been vacuumed and there's crumbs on the floor from the baby eating in the high chair, can you still create a learning environment? Yes, you can. It's my personal desire to have a space dedicated to education because I love teaching. I love investing in those things. I can walk through an office supply store and it's like Disneyland for me between the new file folders and colored paper and pens and freshly sharpened pencils. I mean, girl, you've got me at hello. I love that stuff. But for some of you, that might not be your thing. That doesn't mean that you can't create a good environment. Plop them down in front of the kitchen table, put on some good music that kind of invigorates the soul, and get to learning together. It's so much fun. It's really worth it. You're done 10 times faster than you can be over in the public school, and you've created a great relationship with your child. You've learned something, they've learned something. It's just a fantastic opportunity. So to the naysayers who say you're not educated to be a teacher or you don't have an environment, to them I say, you just don't understand that the craft comes from experience, and I'm really just trying to do my best, and I'm having fun doing it, and we're learning along the way. So those are my 2 answers to the naysayers. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of encouragement or kind of something to chew on and to think about and adapt to yourself. And if you have any other thoughts or desires to listen to people who have their comments on naysayers, there's some really great stuff over at the Virtual Homeschool Co-op. So jump on over there and you can hear what others have to say. So homeschool on, my friends. Teach your kids, love them, and do so with full purpose and heart.